so I got my butt kicked. I went to the vice and I spun myself a fix. He's a dry fly guy. He's a dry fly guy. Saw you on another day doing the same old tricks. You took it kinda hard cause I hooked a lot of lips. He's a dry fly guy. He's a dry fly guy. Yeah, I hooked a lot of lips while I hiked through the snow to see the South Fork run. The midges came alive and heaven just begun. He's a dry fly guy. He's a dry fly guy. Oh, heaven just begun.
The TV program that we have created and all of the episodes that you'll see in the future will try to cover the bases pertaining to dry fly fishing. Dry fly fishing is something that everyone would really like to do, but it's also something that most people know very little about. Over the period of episodes in the weeks to come, we're going to try to educate you the best way we know how on how to fish a dry fly and how to make that a successful bug for you. Because the one thing that we all know is that if we had our choice, we would way rather see that great big guy come to the surface and eat. Also in our TV programs, we are tyers and we design dry flies. And so when we do a TV program, what we'll do in every situation is we will select the bug that was the most successful that we fished, and we'll illustrate that bug and we'll tie that bug for you as a part of the TV program. The other thing that we'd really like to do is we'd really like to make fishing become real to you. Oftentimes what you see in TV programs are kind of canned situations and someone fishing out there on a private pond or a private stretch of water. We do all of our dry fly fishing right out there with you. On public waters, we like the challenge to be as great as it can possibly be. And that's the reason why we developed a TV program to show you where it is that we're fishing and give you all of the insights that we can give you to make you a better dry fly fisherman. In the episode you watched today, Fishing in the Wintertime, I'd like you to know that the flies that we use are housed within a box. That box is called the Miracle. The Miracle box has nothing in it but a selection of 6 dozen of the top winter dry flies that we actually sell. I've been tying dry flies for wintertime fishing since 1983, and the accumulation of that knowledge and that experience over fish in winter has all gone into that winter box called the Miracle. Now, before we serve the first fly to this group of fish on the South Fork of the Snake River, let us show you exactly how it is that rod is rigged to prepare for this type of fishing. We're going to show you now the rig that we use to fish the South Fork of the Snake River, and it would be the same rig that we would be fishing with if you're fishing with in winter. Now, the first thing that I'd really like to stress is you must get used to using very long leaders. The water in winter is at its very clearest, and most of the time the rivers are at their very lowest. So you want to have a presentation that keeps your dry fly line completely away from your fly. Now, we'll show you how to rig. What you're looking at in front of you on the right-hand side of your screen would be a butt piece. That butt piece is attached to the dry fly line. It's a 25-pound test piece of leader about 20 inches long, and we attach it to the dry fly line with a 5-turn nail knot. Now, I'm going to pull it between my fingers, and I'll show you the first splice that we make here. And as I pull it through, there will be another knot that will appear right there. That is the attachment of your butt piece to your tapered leader. That is a 2-turn surgeon's knot to make sure that the knot is as small and concise as it can possibly be. I want to make one point here. If you're accustomed to using loop-to-loop in your connections, start doing away with that and go with a butt piece,
because when you use loop to loop, there's way too much transmittal of water in a V around that loop to loop. And what it does, the only place you want a V is where your fly is located. So here we are. We've attached now the butt piece to the tapered leader. The tapered leader will always be 7.5 feet long, and on the end of that, you will use a surgeon's knot and you will attach your tippet. Most of the time in winter, the rig would always be 5X on the tapered leader or 6X on the tapered leader and 6X on the tippet. That is exactly how we're rigged to fish the Snake River in winter.
This episode of Dry Fly Adventures takes us to the South Fork of the Snake River. It's in the heart of winter, March 12th and March 13th. We were out of Irwin, Idaho on a stretch of river below the Palisades Dam. The temperature was high 40s and we hit a beautiful little window of weather. Temperature high 40s, very little wind at the surface of the water. The flows were running at about 1,000 CFS. We had no fishing reports to go by on this expedition because basically no one fishes the South Fork of the Snake River about this time. But it's just like us at Dry Fly Innovations to take the challenge and make the run to the South Fork of the Snake River. If you dry fly fish, there's a very, very good chance in the box that you own right now of flies for dry fly fishing, you will have a product in there called CDC or Cul de Canard. It's the oil-enriched feather that sits on the preen gland of a mallard duck or all types of waterfowl. I have fished CDC now for over 30 years. It's one of my favorite natural materials to tie into dry flies. Recently, I was given a bottle of what's called Locksaw by Loon. And this product is a product that I use now exclusively for CDC. Always before, and if any of you have fished CDC before, you know that after the first 3 or 4 or 5 fish that you catch, that CDC will actually waterlog and you have to hang it in your vest. This product, Loon by Locksaw, by applying this after about every second or third fish that you catch, you can actually fish the life of your dry fly and never have to change flies because this product will float your CDC like no other product that you've ever used. On the morning of March 12th, 2013, at about 5:30 in the morning, Jeffrey and I jump in the rig together and we head for Idaho Falls to meet with Joe Bear, one of our good old fishing buddies and one of our fly tyers. We meet Joe around 10 o'clock in the morning, and we connect up, we grab his gear, and we head for the South Fork of the Snake River below Palisades Dam. In Idaho Falls, a lot of the snow was beginning to melt, and there was a lot of bare ground. But as we began to take the trip up the river, the further up the river we got, the more snow that we encountered. And then I was beginning to think that, wow, we may have taken a challenge here that we cannot win. We moved upriver and we went to a location outside of Irwin, Idaho. We hit a little side channel and we walked that side channel into the South Fork of the Snake River. It was a gorgeous day. No wind on the surface of the water and the visibility across those big slicks and riffles was spectacular. We reached out, when we first hit the river, we looked over a big, long riffle, and there were no fish feeding there. And after analyzing, we crossed the river, and we moved upriver onto a really big slick. We'd gone upriver about 1/4 mile, and all of a sudden, out in front of us, we began to see the first pod of fish of the day feeding. They were feeding in a really, really difficult place. They were in fairly close to the bank. It was sheen surface and very, very slow moving water. That is oftentimes the most difficult fish that you'll ever try to catch. So we looked over the situation, and I made a real big loop up around the fish, staying way away from the bank to make sure we didn't put the fish down. We got way up above the fish, and then I very slowly started to move down into position to serve the fish.
So here we are, up above that group of fish. And the reason we're showing this at this camera angle is we want to make sure that you get some idea about the proper spacing in between you and a group of feeding fish. Now this water is crystal clear, sheen surface, and it's moving very slowly. The idea here is I'm long casting, and then you can see the twitch in the end of the rod as I'm feeding the line down into that group of fish. Now, the other thing I want you to notice here, you can actually see me setting the hook. I have got fish that are coming to the hook. The only problem is they're not eating it. I'm using the adult form of the midge called a caddidge. And on the slick surface like this, oftentimes you're better to use a different phase of the hatch. And in this case, an emerger is nearly perfect for the type of water that we're actually fishing. Now, I'm going to show another angle here, serving the fly downhill and letting the current drift into that group of fish. This is almost perfect staging if you're trying to catch a big fish on slick water. We're getting the fly right in front of the fish. The fish are actually coming directly to the hook, but they're not eating it. They are keyed on a different phase of the hatch, and they're feeling more comfortable with that bug being just underneath the surface. Here we go again on another false take. Time for a blood midge. This guy is designed to put the tip of the hook down in the water. Now, you saw the big cutty rise out toward the center of the river. You saw the placement of the cast, and bingo! Big cutty on. That is the difference right there between using adult bugs and emergers at times. These emerging patterns, and especially on slick surfaces like these, they are absolutely a game changer. Now watch as we begin to leverage the fish on a nice high rod and bring him directly into the net. Beautiful. That's a gorgeous fish.
When we landed that big old fish, he had thrashed around in the hole so hard and run up and down through that hole that he put the remainder of the fish down. And we didn't have the patience at that point in time to sit and wait for that group to come back and eat, so we decided we would travel upriver. So we began trekking upriver, checking out all the riffles and all the big flats and all of the gorgeous hatchwater that we were walking through, and hunting for heads. We hunted over almost a mile of river, and we were just not running into any feeding fish. We never saw a target for the next mile. But in my memory, I know at times when you reach a riffle on an inside seam, at times you do not need to have fish feeding at the surface of the water. We had walked a mile with no targets or no fish to set up on, so I decided to use a strategy that works the edge of the seam, or what I call the blue line. There he is right there, Jeffrey. We like it, Joseph, we like it. And that little bit of chop in the water right there. Oh man, that is just a hog right there. Nice fish. Okay. That's right on him right there. Oh, there he is right there. Right there. Oh man, another big old, look at this dude right here. Beautiful fish. Not too big. There you go. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, God, that's just gorgeous, man. Yeah. There he is! Oh, that's a beautiful damn fish! The old Caddidge. You know, I'm seeing a lot of midges drift through that son of a gun. There he is right there. Tail rocker! Don't even worry now, don't you even worry, it's all right. Ah! Wouldn't you know it? Beautiful fish.
Many of the fish that you're seeing hooked on this TV program were hooked on one of the bugs that we tie called a caddidge. A caddidge is kind of like a little marriage between a small caddis and a large midge. And the beauty of the bug is you can fish this guy at any time of year. We are continuously catching fish all winter long as an imitation of a midge, and we're catching fish all summer long as an imitation of a small caddis. So let's go to the vise now and we'll tie a caddidge. So let's tie a caddidge, a little cross between a midge and a caddis. So let's start the thread right here at the eye and let's move it forward just about like this, right down to the end of the hook. And I like to see the tail of this bug go down over the turn just a little bit. We'll let it hang right there. The abdomen of this bug is going to be a biot, a natural goose biot, and he looks a little bit just about like this. The thing that you want to make sure of on your biot is when you tie in that the ledge side of your biot is going to proceed down the shank of the hook. So we'll tie this in place here. We'll spin this down to about that location. And then we'll tip the biot upward like this, turn it toward the camera, and then we'll pinch it. Now, anytime that you would use a biot, the thing you want to keep in mind that a biot is easily broken. So you must glue all biots. The type of glue that we use is called crazy glue. It hardens very quickly. And the nice thing about it is it's got a nice little applicator. It's easy to work your glue right into position just exactly like you need to. And then we're going to spin the biot down the shank of the hook. So in about that position, we'll spin this. And the hook that I'm using here is a 1270 Daiichi. It's a 3X long hook, and the reason why I like it for a lot of our clients, it's got a little bit bigger eye, and it's a bit easier to see and a little bit easier to thread on. So the wing on this is a dual wing. The underwing is actually made of Zelon, and the Zelon that we'll be using here, a little patch that looks just about like this. And I like Zelon for this tie because for two reasons. Number one, it adds in the float of the bug and it helps support the bug. But the other thing that it does is it creates this little brushing mechanism that kind of keeps the fiber of your CDC, which is the upper wing, it keeps it kind of separated and helps it keep dry. So anyway, let's go ahead and mount now the Zelon, and we'll place it right there. The upper portion of the wing here is going to be CDC. And if you look at the CDC that we're using here, it's actually two feathers that are actually stacked together. I'll show you what they look like to start with in a pair. This is what the CDC feathers would actually look like. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take most of the fiber off of the low side of this so we can consolidate it into a perfect little wing out over the top of the Zelon. So I'm going to strip it now down to, I'm going to strip it down to the point where I've got a nice little V shape, about like what you're looking at right there. Now from this point we can condense that, pet it into shape, and make a perfect little wing on this particular bug. Now that I've got it petted, you can see the little wing structure I've got here, and the idea now is that I'm going to place that right down on top of that of the Zelon underwing, and we'll secure it in. I'll hold it this way, press it right down on the shank of the hook. From here, let's just build this thorax just a little bit right through here. Now we're going to take the two feathers or stems of feather of CDC, and now we're going to convert those into legs. Now I'm down to the eye here, and I'm just going to do a couple of nice tight little half hitches here, and then we'll do a nice clean little trim right in underneath. And we completed the skeletal of the bug at this point in time. There's one last thing that I want to do. I'm going to turn the vise to where it faces me. I'm going to trim these legs off to where I can get a good estimate on them and cut them equally. And then I'm going to bring the bug back to the vise, and then we'll turn it so you can see all angles in the silhouette. Now we have trimmed off the legs, and the bug is basically finished at the vise as we see it right now. But the aspect of the bug that I'd really like you to see is as we rotate it, so you can see all of the angles that a fish might see when they're looking at the bug also. So I'm going to begin to turn it, and the first angle I'd like you to see would be this angle that looks just like this. You can see we have the wings pinned back at about a 45, or the legs pinned back at about a 45. Nice little V shape to the wing, and an absolute perfect silhouette of a small caddis or a large midge. Now, I'm going to roll it forward, and the next thing I want you to recognize is the view that you're getting right about now. Look at the fact that there is absolutely nothing under the underside of this bug. So when you cast this bug, he's going to lay perfectly flat in the surface film, and he's going to show off that beautiful little underbody that you're looking at right there. That abdomen of that beautiful black and gray striation, it is one of the real triggers on this particular tie. Now we'll roll it on up to the point of beginning, and you will have seen all angles of a caddidge.
At Dry Fly Innovations, we have created a basic dry fly fishing system. What we've done is we have taken the most important hatches that you may have to match out on a river somewhere, and we have consolidated those into what we call custom boxes. We have custom boxes that cover almost every need that you would ever have on a dry fly. We cover the needs of winter. We cover the needs of searching for fish with special kinds of flies that lure the fish up to the surface. And then if you're in summer, you are always going to be dealing with mayflies and caddis. So we have two specific boxes just for those flies alone. The last box that we do is what we call the high mountain or the majestic box, and that box is formulated to fish the high country. All of the small streams and the medium-sized rivers of the high country, all of the high mountain lakes, it's designed to fish all elevations above 4,500 feet. We learned a lot from the first day that we fished on the South Fork. We learned that the midge hatches were really, really spotty. And maybe the best way that we could get to prime water and prime location was to get Joe's boat out and float down the river and then go into these areas and cover more ground and find these pods of feeding fish. So we took the boat to the river on the second day, and in the morning we slid it down a place called the Irwin Slide, which is a pretty rough place to land a boat, and we got the boat in and we began to float down river. We fished a couple of riffles that we had identified yesterday, and we fished those the same way on the blue line, but the fish were just not cooperating with us in the morning. We floated down river about a mile, and we came to the top of a really big, long riffle that dumped out into a great big, deep hole. Immediately at the top of the riffle, I looked downriver and I could see on the inside edge there was a fairly large group of fish beginning to feed. And here's exactly what happened from there.
The pod's a little more to the right.
There he is. There you go. There you go. There you go. You was right. You were right on him all the way. The fish that
I knew I was close.
the fish that I saw, you were just right on him. And this is what Jeffrey looks like when he's on vacation. And that is what his rod looks like when he's on vacation. It's a small rod. Oh, I guess I should get where the fish is.
I gotta start telling myself just there.
Nice. Darn little bet, yeah. Oh yeah, baby now. Yeah, oh yeah.
Buy him.
Oh, there you go, there you go, there you go, there you go. Very well done, very well done. Yes, sir. Good job, Jeffrey. That was pretty. Staying patient sometimes really pays off, you know it? There he is, there he is, there he is. We're on him. Oh, that's pretty, man. There you go, there you go. That's a nice fish right there. Now that's a really nice fish right there. Look at him, he just ran right out of the pod. Gorgeous damn fish. I mean, that is just gorgeous.
Yeah, you're on him. You ready? Oh, that's a nice fish.
There he is. There he is. Pretty good fish right there.
I was just getting parched.
I got you. Parched, huh?
Yes.
Okay, well you should. All those fish that you just caught, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
Think so.
break a guy's arm that way, if you know what I mean.
Oh, that wasn't a fish.
No, that's not a really big fish, but he's a.
We'll take him.
Nate, they're getting closer to us. Get that guy off and go back out there.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. He's loose, Jeffrey. I think I just saw a fish right there. There he is. This is
It's like taking candy from a baby.
This is like this is like, you know, people dream of these moments like this, Jeffrey.
Yes.
People dream of these moments in dry fly fishing.
Yes.
And here we are. We're out here in the middle of the winter
With Joseph.
with Joseph.
Joseph.
Joseph. And Joseph's here. And this is what it looks like. Jeffrey's fish coming up. This is what it looks like in the winter in Irwin, Idaho. Look at your guts, fish. I mean, look at your guts. Hook in it. So, look at the width of this fish.
It's a nice fish.
I mean, look at that son of a gun. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Now we're talking. Hey, Joseph. Look at that gash under the cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm pretty positive this fish. There he is, right there. Right there. You don't think it's a very big fish, do you?
I think it's a dink and dink and dink and dink.
Oh, jeez. You're killing me. You're killing me, Raven. Did you see that? Oh, that fish is just gorgeous. Yeah, that's good, right? It'll all be good. Look at the colors in that fish, Jeffrey. I mean, come on. Okay. Cool. Cool.
The one thing that we have learned in meeting with hundreds and hundreds of fly fishing enthusiasts across the country is that if people had their choice, they would almost always elect to dry fly fish. The problem is that dry fly fishing is probably the one portion of fly fishing that people know very, very little about. So what we have done is we've formulated 4 DVDs, educational DVDs. They're all over an hour long and they're all highlighted with video. We never give you a fishing scenario or a learning experience unless we take you to the river and we actually show you how that is actually performed on the river. The hatch by now had intensified. There were hundreds, literally thousands of midges formulating at the surface, and the fish just kept coming up out of the big deep of this hole, and they kept crowding their way up further and up further in the riffle. And all of a sudden, we are just totally surrounded by big fish. In wintertime, this is a scenario that doesn't happen very often. It's called bottoms up, and we had bottoms up. Here's exactly what the sights and sounds of fishing over a wintertime hatch actually look like.
That is just absolutely spectacular. I mean, the colors on these things are ridiculous. I mean, look at the colors in that thing, Jeffrey. Joseph! Holy hell! Oh, Joseph, that's that first son of a gun. Why are yours always smaller than mine? Try to do it over here so you can see it. Wow, there's one giant fish in there. This is what Joseph looks like. This is what Joseph looks like when he's got fish on. Beautiful fish, Joseph. Fish on, fish on, fish on. Jeffrey, you're killing him, you're killing him. Really phenomenal.
There he is.
There's that big one. That's a big fish right there. Look.
Oh, he's got a dance going.
Yeah, I'm so sure. Oh, Joseph. Oh, God. Holy hell, Joseph.
This is supposed to be kid friendly.
Oh, Joseph.
They're still feeding in there.
It's just, I mean, we got bottoms up. Something that you don't see.
Oh, look at that little guy.
That's a teeny tiny
Joseph, you might have a bigger one than him this time for the double.
No, I tell you what, I think you do, Joseph. But you haven't got him in yet, so I'm hoping you do. Joseph! Joseph!
Dana, 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 Joseph!
Yeah! Oh, yeah! Jeez. That's ridiculous, Joseph.
totally ridiculous that you get. God, that's a beautiful fish. Let's net those. I wonder why we're not catching these brownies.
Look at that color.
Well, this guy, he's been back here like acting like double. Have we? We're due. Well, fish ain't much, but what the heck? Okay, Joseph. This is me and Jeffrey. We work for Dry Fly Innovations, too. Joe?
Mm-hmm.
We work for Dry Fly Innovations. We're who make these bugs, Joseph. This guy was doing sump bowls around me, Jeffrey. Sump bowls. Then I got tired of it.
This guy gets onto my line as I'm trying to clean my line.
Okay, Jeffrey, come on. Let's move it. Let's advance this operation. Let's put the herd on. Now hold still.
Okay. This son of a gun comes from 8.
There he is. Ridiculous. There he is. Oh, what do you know? We got a little acrobat going, for crying out loud.
Nice fish, too.
Hey, he's giving us a really good show, Jeffrey. Really good show. Come to Pappy now. I mean, look at these fish, Joseph. I mean, these are just spectacular fish. I smacked him right on the head, Joseph. I just went right and hit him right on the head. Right on the darn head. Oh, you know about that?
It's a brownie!
It is was that a brownie?
It's a brownie!
No wonder he's fighting that hard. We finally got a brownie?
Yeah, and he's a tiny brownie.
Come on, Brownie. We want you to come to us, Brownie. You come to us. It's okay. You're little. Because you could grow up to be bigger.
then I saw you in my net and you filled up all the space. You were gorgeous like my gal, all up in French lace. He's a dry fly guy. Yeah, he's a dry fly guy. Well, I heard my reel screaming from the power of his run. Wrap me around the border and the son of a gun won. He's a dry fly guy. Oh, he's a dry fly guy. Oh, the son of a gun won. Oh, I saw you in the rain, eat a tiny little fly. When I set the hook, you jump sky high. He's a dry fly guy. Oh, he's a dry fly guy. Oh, you took me to a river and you turned broadside. You thought me had me lit, but I saw you eye to eye. He's a dry fly guy. Oh, he's a dry fly guy. Oh, I saw you eye to eye.
You know, fishermen have a way of embellishing their experience. Sometimes that fish is always just a little longer than it was, and the numbers of fish caught actually start to grow. Well, in the case of the Snake River, the South Fork of the Snake River, and our fishing expedition for 2 days, we actually netted 66 fish in the net on the second day. That didn't include fish that we hooked and lost or actually missed at the surface of the water. We actually netted 66 fish. That is a very, very rare situation for wintertime fishing. It is very rare when you get bottoms up like what we had on the South Fork of the Snake River. So our little hunch out in the middle of winter actually was a pretty good one this time, but it could have very well have been the opposite way around. Winter is really very, very fickle is the way that'll always turn out. To end our episode, I would really like to introduce you to the people who really make this program possible.